Peter Drucker's famous quote that culture eats strategy for breakfast articulates a truism that most people working on organizations would readily accept. How often does one see beautifully thought out and articulated strategies suffer shipwreck on a spirit of disengagement in an organization? One of the challenges in dealing with this spirit is that the very idea of culture is a complex one for most people, one which has many moving parts. A single definition from a consultancy specializing in culture would suffice to demonstrate the case. The business achievers indicate that organizational culture is the collection of values, expectations, and practices that guide and inform the actions of all team members. I think it would be helpful, therefore, to arrive at a more pointed understanding of the term of culture, one that would enable one readily to distinguish between toxic and healthy organizational cultures. There is a view that healthy cultures are manifest in a spirit of collaboration between members of the organization, and one that would, in a sense, encourage innovation. There is also a view that healthy cultures will be manifest in customer-focused organizations, with employees readily going the extra mile in dealing with the customer. It seems to me that these expressions of a healthy culture are manifestations of a single variable, namely the intent of the individual in the organization. The degree to which the average person in the organization is willing to make a discretionary contribution, in other words, give more than what they take in pursuit of the organization's objectives, is the degree to which the organization will be customer-focused, innovative, and manifest a spirit of collaboration between its members. The culture is toxic to the degree to which the average member is there to take, and is healthy to the degree to which the average member is there to give. For example, if one argues that successful organizations are profitable, then one needs to examine how enterprises produce profits or surpluses. Let us assume, for example, that we have 3 bakers who collaborate to bake a cake. The cake takes them a whole month to bake the cake, and at the end of the month, each baker takes a slice home to feed him and his family. If, however, there was a slice left over, we would call that slice a surplus or a profit. And that surplus slice only exists because the total cake that was baked was bigger than what each individual baker took home. In other words, collectively, they gave more than what they took. The surplus is the cumulative effect of each baker giving more than what they were taking. The intent of the individual to make a discretionary contribution, therefore, is the primary variable that accounts for the success of groups and is the central component of culture. Now, if one considers this from the point of view of personal excellence or the person, one needs to examine whether it is possible for people to be here to give, particularly in a world where we have assumed that self-interest rules, that's what in it for me is the cardinal truth of the human condition. It turns out that what people really want from life is actually the product of the intent to give. When asked the question, why do you go to work? The answers that people give can be classed in 4 broad categories, namely security, fulfillment, power, and harmony. Security and fulfillment are really concerned with what it feels like to be in your skin, and that's what I mean by one's personal excellence. Power relates to, in a sense, to hierarchy and leadership, and harmony relates to peer groups and teams. Now, if one considers the issue of security and fulfillment, in any situation, a person is confronted by 2 possibilities: what they want to get and what they can give. And what a person gets sits outside of their hands, because whatever they get moves from the other to the self. What one gives, however, sits in your own hands. Should you base either your security or your fulfillment on what you get from the other, you are basing them on something that others have power over, which will make you insecure and discontented. If, however, you base your security and fulfillment on the quality of your contribution in the moment that you're in, you're basing your security and fulfillment on something that you always have power, which means you will always be secure and fulfilled. Now, if we look at what this means for leadership and leadership excellence, this intent to give. I mean, if you want to get something from somebody else, that person's ability to withhold what you want gives them power over you. You are weak and you will experience yourself to be the victim. You will be under the control of the other. If, on the other hand, you base your engagement with someone else on what you can give to them, you become powerful because you are basing your action on what you have power over. This has a direct implication for the issue of leadership at work. Considering, for instance, the difference between the boss that people would work for because they have to and the boss that people that would work for because they want to, it is the latter who has real power. Now, this is because the latter cultivates people who are loyal and willing to go the extra mile. People go the extra mile for a boss who they work for because they want to. When asked to describe the kind of boss that they would work for because they want to, people would say many things, all of which can be classed in two broad categories: care and growth. The care category would include attributes such as the boss who has empathy, is supportive, is approachable, can listen, and is trustworthy, for example. The growth category, on the other hand, includes attributes such as the boss who is honest and fair, empowering, knowledgeable, able to give feedback and provide a vision. In both cases, all of the attributes that people would list would have the subordinate as the primary beneficiary of that behavior. In short, the boss is there to give rather than take from the subordinate. The boss therefore cultivates people who work because they want to, becomes powerful because the boss is there to give. Now, if one considers what this intent to give means for teams and team excellence, it actually is also concerned with harmony. Now, if you want something from someone else, that person's ability to withhold what you want gives them power over you, which makes them dangerous to you because they can manipulate you. However, not only are they dangerous to you, but because you want something from them, you are dangerous to them. Now, if the two of you are dangerous to each other, obviously you will have conflict. It'll be a fractious relationship. On the other hand, if you dealt with somebody based on what you can give to them, you are safe from them because they can't manipulate you anymore. But precisely because they're to give something to them, they are safe from you. And if you are safe from them and they are safe from you, you have harmony. This harmony is apparent in teams. Most of the work that happens on the field, for example, in a successful soccer team is not about somebody scoring. It's about somebody trying to set somebody else up to score. The intent of the individual player who is setting his colleague up to score is the intent to set the colleague up to be the star. It is this intent that to set your colleague up to be the star that produces teamwork. By contrast, if every player is trying to be the star themselves, you don't have a team, you've got a herd of cats. Now, finally, if you look at the issue of organizational excellence, the organizational context that enables people to be here to give and make a discretionary contribution will, in the first instance, articulate the purpose of the organization to refer to the broader contribution that the organization is making to the world. The narrower and the more mercenary the purpose of the organization is seen to be, the less likely it is to solicit the discretionary contribution of its members. The second thing such an organization will do is manifest a minimalist approach to control. It stands to reason that a person who makes a discretionary contribution has the autonomy to do so. In the process of enabling this person, one must therefore consider the degree to which systems, processes, and structures either promote or frustrate the individual's initiative.